Hi guys, Greg here, and welcome to episode 4 in my Learn Latin series. Unfortunately, it's been 3 years since the last episode. A number of obstacles have prevented me from getting on with the series. Fortunately, those seem to have settled down now, and I hope that I'll be able to get about one video out every week or 2 weeks from now on. There was a previous video on my channel explaining that, so please check that out if you missed it. Otherwise, thank you so much for waiting. I hope you enjoy episode 4, and I'm glad to be back. So, last time I left you with 10 questions to help measure your understanding of first conjugation verbs in the present indicative active tense. So we'll just go through those now, the answers to those. So, amant translates to they love. Laudas is you singular praise. Superat, he, she, or it overcomes. Servare is the infinitive to protect or to save. And erratis is you plural err, or you plural make a mistake. And for the English into Latin ones, we have they overcome, which translates as superant. We fly is volamus. She is hurrying is festinat. He lives is habitat. And I am thinking is cogito. So hopefully you got most of those right, and if not, then I'd suggest you go back to episode 3 and rewatch it and see if there's anything that you missed, and if there's anything that you're still struggling with or don't understand, then please feel free to leave a question in the comments below, and I'll try and get back to you. So just to recap on the first conjugation endings that you learned last time. These are the endings for the present indicative active tense, and they are o, as, at, amus, atis, ant. So if we take a sample verb like cogito, cogitare, cogitavi, cogitatum, which means to think, we know it belongs to the first conjugation because it ends are. If we take that away, we're left with the stem of the verb, cogit, and if we put that in front of these endings, then we make complete verbs. In this case, cogito, I think, cogitas, you think, cogitat, he, she, or it thinks, cogitamus, we think, cogitatis, you plural think, or y'all think, and cogitant, they think. So now we're going to expand on that, and we're going to learn the endings for the future and the imperfect indicative active. So we'll do the future first of all. So the future indicative active talks about verbs that are about to occur in the future, and they indicate what is going to happen, and the subject is the one performing the verb. So things like I will love, she will call, he will build, they will see, etc. And these are the endings for the future indicative active for first conjugation verbs. And they are abo, abis, abit, abimus, abitis, abunt. So if we take our sample verb there, cogitare, we take the stem off and put it in front of these endings, we get cogitabo, I shall think, cogitabis, you will think, cogitabit, he will think, cogitabimus, we shall think, cogitabitis, you will think, plural, and cogitabunt, they will think. So now let's compare those to the imperfect indicative active endings. And just to remind you, the imperfect tense is a type of past tense where the action is considered to be ongoing in the past. It roughly translates to the English past progressive, which is something like I was reading, she was writing, they were watching, etc. And these are the endings for the imperfect indicative active. And they are abam, abas, abat, abamus, abatis, abant. So hopefully now seeing these three together, you'll start to work out some patterns and recognize some similarities. We'll come back to that in a few minutes. But for now, if we just take our stem, cogit, and put it in front of these endings, we get cogitabam, I was thinking, cogitabas, you were thinking, cogitabat, he was thinking, Cogitabamos, we were thinking. Cogitabatis, you were thinking, plural. And cogitabant, they were thinking. So let's try this again with another verb. And let's take the first verb that I ever taught you, amo, amare, amavi, amatum, to love. And the approach should be, you know it's a first conjugation verb because it ends are. From that, you can deduce the stem to be am, and then you just take that stem and put it in front of all of these endings to make complete verbs. Amabo, I shall love. Amabis, you will love. Amabit, he, she, or it will love. Amabamus, we shall love. Amabitus, you all will love. And amabunt, they will love. And in the imperfect past tense, we have amabam, I was loving. Amabas, you were loving. Amabat, he, she, it was loving. Amabamus, we were loving. Amabatis, you plural were loving. And amabant, they were loving. So we'll try one more, and we'll go for a verb that you don't know yet. So ambulo, ambulare, ambulavi, ambulatum, to walk. I chose this one because it's a common and useful verb, and also because I wanted to include a third Rodin sculpture. So once again, you've never seen the verb before, but you can know that it belongs to the first conjugation because it ends are. You take the stem off that, ambul, and you put it in front of these endings to get ambulabo, ambulabis, ambulabit, ambulabimus, ambulabitis, ambulabunt in the future indicative active, and ambulabam, ambulabas, ambulabat, ambulabamus, ambulabatis, ambulabant in the imperfect indicative active. And you can read the translations there. So, whenever you're learning a language, it's important to start looking for patterns. It's a lot of learning language is pattern recognition. So I thought it would be helpful to look at all the endings that you know so far for the first conjugation, being the present, the future, and the imperfect, and to just explore some differences and commonalities between them. So just to remind you, the present endings are o, as, at, amus, atis, ant. The future endings are abo, abis, abit, abimus, abitis, abunt, and the imperfect past endings are abam, abas, abat, abamus, abatis, abant. So, one of the first things that should strike you is that the very last letter or group of letters gives you the sense of what person is conducting the verb, and that's known as the personal ending. So in the case of I, myself, I, it's either O or M. In the case of you, singular, it's S. In the case of the third person singular, so either he, she, or it, it's a T. Mus is we. Tis is you plural. And NT is they. The next thing to notice is that just before these personal endings is the sign that gives you an indication of when the verb takes place. So in the present tense, you just need the personal endings, and that gives you the complete verb. In the future tense, having bi tells you that the action is going to take place in the future. Now it's mostly bi. There are two exceptions. In the first person singular, abo, it's just a b. And in the third person plural, it's abunt. Languages are full of little irregularities like this, and you just have to recognize them and remember them when you see them. But suffice to say that the future ending is usually bi, except that it's bo in the first person singular and bu in the third person plural. And for the imperfect tense, it's a bit more straightforward. It's always ba. The only thing to watch out for is that sometimes it's a short ba, as in abam, and sometimes it's a longer ba, like abamus. But the sign ba before the personal ending will tell you that the verb is taking place in the imperfect tense. Now they're quite similar, bi and ba, and I know a lot of people learning Latin get them confused. So one thing that I learned that helped me was that bi, having an I in it, like the future word in English will, and ba has an a in it, like the past tense English word was. So that can help you distinguish between the two of them. It's quite a lot of information to process at once, so you might want to take a break here and write these down and practice playing around with some verbs just to really solidify that. And when you're comfortable enough, we can move on to some examples of how to approach a new verb, how to tackle it and start breaking it down and translating it in your head. So we have a look at this verb, vola batis, and we should work our way through it thinking, okay, so vola is the stem, and that comes from volare, to fly. The next piece of the word is ba, so that tells me that it's the imperfect tense, roughly translating as was or were. And then the ending tells us who is conducting the verb, in this case tis, which is you in the plural. So to fly was or were you. The whole verb comes together to mean you, plural, were flying. So if we take another example, vocabis, once again, you take the stem, voca, you recognize that that belongs to the verb vocare, to call. The next bit of the word is bi, which you've just learned is the future tense sign, so it translates as shall or will. And then the personal ending s corresponds to you in the singular. So the whole verb, to call, shall, will, you, can be brought together and translated as you, singular, will, call. So hopefully that makes sense. We can look at a historical example now. So during the Greco-Persian Wars, there's a famous story where a Persian messenger comes to the king of the Spartans, Leonidas, and his army, and he's trying to intimidate them, and he says, our army is so large that when we fire our bows and arrows, the arrows will block out the sun. Obviously this would have been spoken in Greek and Persian, but Cicero translates it into Latin, and he translates one of the responses of one of the soldiers in Leonidas's army as in umbra igitur pugnabimus. So if I tell you igitur means then or therefore, and umbra means shadow, that's where we get the words umbrella and penumbra from. So in umbra igitur, in the shadow, therefore. Taking the last word there, pugnabimus, if I tell you pugnare means to fight, then from everything you've learned so far, you should be able to work out that pugnabimus means we shall fight. So in response to the Persian soldier saying, our arrows will block out the sun, the soldier responds, in umbra igitur pugnabimus. Very well, we shall fight in the shade. So I just thought I'd close out with some new vocabulary to learn. So I gave you 10 first conjugation Latin verbs 3 years ago, last time. So I'll give you 10 more. So you've already seen this one, this lesson, ambulo, ambulare, ambulavi, ambulatum, to walk. The next one is adiuo, adiuare, adiui, adiutum, which means to help, to aid, or to assist. Then we have satio, satiare, satiavi, satiatum, which means to satisfy or sate, and it's where we get those words from. Next we have saluto, salutare, salutavi, salutatum, which means to greet or hail or say hello to someone, and it's where we get the words salute and salutations from in English. Next we have vito, vitare, vitavi, vitatum, to avoid or to shun. Libero, liberare, liberavi, liberatum, to set free or to liberate. Ceno, cenare, cenavi, cenatum, to dine or to eat dinner. Dilecto, dilectare, dilectavi, dilectatum, to delight or to charm. That's where we get the English adjective delectable from. Navigo, navigare, navigavi, navigatum, to sail. and we get all sorts of words like navigation, navigable, and navy from that. And orno, ornare, ornavi, ornatum, meaning to furnish, to decorate, or to adorn. So I'd recommend just pausing the video there, writing these down, practicing conjugating them with some of the different endings you've learned, and seeing if that can sink in. And when you're confident, you can try testing yourself. I'll give you another 10 questions. So first of all, we have 5 Latin to be translated into English, and 5 English to be translated into Latin. So have a bash at those, and I'll put the answers in the next video next week. I'm also hoping to, I'll put a link in the description of this video to a resource that I'm trying to work on now, which will just be a list of all the vocabulary covered up to date lesson by lesson. So when you finish watching a video, you can click the link and see all the vocabulary that's been covered in all the previous lessons up to that point. So hopefully that should be helpful. Let me know if it is or not. And we'll just finish up with some phrases and etymology. So our phrase for this lesson is fortis fortuna adjuvat, which first appeared in a play by Terence, a Roman playwright, and it is a very famous Roman proverb, and lots of his contemporaries and people that came after him quoted it in slightly different ways, but it means fortune favours the bold. Fortis fortuna adjuvat. And you've just learned that verb, adjuvat, adjuare, on the previous slide. For our etymology, I think this is quite sweet. It's the origin of the word muscle, which comes from mus culus. And mus is the Latin word for mouse, and culus is a diminutive ending which means little or small. So musculus means little mouse. And the reason that that came to mean muscle was it was a sort of poetic way of describing the way a muscle flexes and moves under the skin, almost like a little mouse travelling under the skin. I find that quite sweet. Maybe some of you will find it disgusting, but there we go. So next time, I will hopefully introduce you to some Latin nouns. So Latin nouns belong to different declensions, and they have different cases. So we'll go over that next time. And I'll introduce you to some first declension Latin nouns, so you can start constructing sentences with verbs and nouns. So one final thing quickly is that I've recently set up a Patreon account, which is a kind of crowdfunding online resource, so that those of you who would like to help and support the channel and are in a position to do so can go there and make small monthly donations to help support this content. The reason that there's no watermark in this video is that a couple of fine individuals have already decided to pledge, those being Sarah Kay from Arizona and Serchalon. So a massive thank you to you guys. It's really encouraging to see people taking an interest and willing to help out. I do want to stress though that I want all my videos to be entirely free and accessible to everyone, so there's no pressure to do this. But if you would like to, you can click on the orange P and that will take you to my Patreon page where you can sign up to make a small monthly donation to help. So that is all for this time. Hopefully see you back here soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.